Hello YouTube, Thinking Species here. If you are a citizen of the United States, there is a 69% chance that you are of the Christian faith. If you are an African American, however, the chance is raised to 79%, which is a higher percentage than any other ethnic group in the US. So congrats black people, you are the most Christian race in America. But is that really a good thing? If this type of content offends you or makes you feel uneasy or threatened, then I encourage you to watch this video because it is specifically made for you. I promise that my goal here is not to antagonize any person or group of people, but to compel you, the viewer, to think rationally. If I created videos that focus on agreeable topics, then there would not be much thinking involved, would it? Anyways, back to the topic at hand. If you believe in the Christian God and you are an African American, ask yourself, why? For some of you, your answer may be, well, I've read the Bible critically and have come to the conclusion that my heart, mind, and soul belongs to Jesus Christ. If this is your answer, I hold no major objections to your belief system in this sense. However, if this is not your answer, and the true reason that you are a Christian is because that was the way you were raised, well, I'm sorry, but you have an enslaved mindset that must be freed. Your ancestors at one time did not believe in Christianity. Many were Muslim, and others followed the religion of their own tribes. When Europeans bought or stole slaves from the African continent and sent them to America, your ancestors had their languages, names, families, and religions stripped away from them and were forced to adopt the European equivalents. The replacement for your religion was Christianity, in the form of Baptist Christianity, or Catholicism if you happen to live in French Louisiana. Slaves were often beaten for opposing the will of the masters, so if any black person dared question Christianity during that time, he or she would have been flogged in public, as an example of what happens if you oppose a white man or his God. Slaves were not permitted to read or learn anything except for Bible passages, which was no coincidence. Knowledge was power, and if the only knowledge you had was the knowledge of being enslaved to the white man and the white God, then the only power you had was servitude. We were Christians out of necessity. The need to survive outweighed the need to reject religion, so consequently, as generations passed in servitude, Christianity became an essential evil that plagued our minds for centuries. We were taught not to question the religion, accept it as fact, and believe it down to our very essence so that we would one day possibly find solace in heaven. The truth was, the slave masters who forced Christianity on the slaves did not even believe that slaves would reach heaven. Slaves were property, not people with souls. The Bible was not given to us for us to be saved. It was a weapon to keep our minds enslaved. A very successful weapon, I might add. One of its effects can still be seen within the black community some 150 years after the end of American slavery. You may be thinking, well, this obviously wasn't true Christianity because Jesus instructed man to love one another and treat people equally. Again, I encourage you to read your Bible even if you think you know what it says. Leviticus chapter 25 verse 44 to 46. You may buy male and female slaves from among the nations that are around you. You may also buy from among the strangers who sojourn with you and their clans that are with you, who have been born in your land, and they may be your property. You may bequeath them to your sons after you to inherit as the possession forever. You may make slaves of them, but of your brothers, the people of Israel, you shall not rule over one another ruthlessly. Ephesians 6:5, which is the New Testament, I mind you. Slaves, obey your earthly masters with fear and trembling, with a sincere heart, as you would Christ. And lastly, from the Gospels, Luke chapter 12, verse 47 to 48, the servant who knows the master's will and does not get ready or does not do what the master wants will be beaten with many blows. But the one who does not know and does things deserving punishment will be beaten with few blows. From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. And from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked. Maybe you are under the impression that this goes against God's nature, or that it is obvious that these passages were inspired by men and not a God. Once you have come to the realization that the Bible contains within it a myriad of immoral, unjust, or unethical passages, then you have lost the right to claim that the book is infallibly benign. Also, if you wish to say that those passages were taken out of context, please explain to me in which context is slavery morally inconsequential, or even more so, part of the divine will of an omnibenevolent being. To this day, we continue to thank the Bible and our faith in it for our freedom and liberation while overlooking what actually brought us through slavery. What made our ancestors triumph over persecution and enslavement was the trust and bonds we had made with each other. Without the unity and perseverance of black slaves to achieve freedom, there would have been no Underground Railroad or black abolitionists like Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, or Frederick Douglass. Our hope was not submission to the European religion, but a united stance on the humanistic perspective of freedom and equality. Now, this is not a call to drop your Christianity, but to free yourself from the remaining chains of slavery. Don't follow a religion because it was programmed into your mind as a naive child or because you fear to question its authority. Rather, look at it from a fresh perspective, the perspective of a critically thinking adult, and form your own opinions on the doctrine. If you believe that God will punish you for asking questions, being open-minded, or opposing any ideology that promotes the torture and degradation of another human being, then you don't worship a God of love. You worship the God of the slave. This is Thinking Species, signing out.